HVDC is very simple. We're here to attract jobs. We're here to attract investment into the Hudson Valley. We want to advocate for a business-friendly environment, and we want to market the region with a targeted campaign that features our top business clusters. And it's very simple. So, why regionalism? Why is that a hot topic now, and why is that so important as all the counties start to analyze what you want to do in terms of developing your economic strategy? We think it's very important to look at the factors that are happening both on the state and federal side as the movement towards support or financial support for projects tend to come into play now when the state or the federal government is looking at things that are having a regional or multi-county impact. Certainly, with yesterday's announcement of the governor's RED councils or regional economic development councils is a prime example of that. This administration is keying on regionalism as a way to support economic development and projects, and certainly with Carol representing the Hudson Valley and also obviously this organization and this county, I think we're well situated to have a very strong voice within those councils on a regional basis. If you look at federal programs or federal support, anything that's coming out of Washington now has a bigger scope in terms of any types of support you're going to get for programs. Both are, we work very closely with the congressional team here throughout the Hudson Valley, Senator Gillibrand, Senator Schumer, and they tend to want to have projects that have multi-level, multi-regional support. And again, the bottom line, why regionalism? Because jobs and investment are not linked by boundaries. A major project that happens over in Orange County, a great deal of the employees could be living or spending their dollars in Dutchess County and vice versa. So we have to understand that while it's important to attract and be aggressive for your own county, as the state looks at it, these dollars and these people go from region to region. So what are we doing? HVDC has created, our campaign, our major marketing campaign for 2011 is a multi-level marketing campaign that really touches a variety of points to both end users and to the broker and site selector and incentive consultant market. We're going to be doing video, which I'll talk about in a little bit, obviously print, website designs. We're going to be looking at targeted targeted lists for both on a sector basis and in broker and site selector target. We're going to talk about radio. We're going to also have a very strong social media campaign. We're in the process of developing out and shooting a lot of this video that we're creating for these targeted cluster programs, which I'll explain in a minute. John is working with IBM right now on shooting a video here in the county to key on one of the sectors specifically. But what's important about what our campaign is that we're trying to modernize some of the marketing programs so that our partners can share even more in what we produce. We don't want to just simply produce a printed marketing piece that goes out into the field. We want to be able to really have an interactive social network and video library that's created that can be also shared back to our partners in each of the counties so that information can also get disseminated. So part of what our major focus is creating short video, 2-minute videos on targeted clusters that will feature an economic development professional talking about that sector and also following it up with a company or a project talking about the value of being within the Hudson Valley and why they chose to be in the Hudson Valley and why other companies should choose to do so as well. So once those videos are produced, we will be uplifting them through our website and a dedicated website to this campaign. We'll also be able to disseminate that through YouTube and other social media outlets, but we're also going to be able to provide it to our partners so that they can do the same. We view it as certainly a way to get more bang for the dollar and get more information in the hands of the people that we need to, as opposed to us producing a flyer or a printed material that, to reproduce it to give to our partners, that costs additional dollars and the mailing and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of marketing campaigns now are moving more to that web-based and multi-layered approach. So our targeted clusters that we're looking at, and obviously I'm going to talk specifically about biotech today, but I just want to touch on them, and I think it's important when you think about the regional councils and what the work that they're going to be doing. We think these are the key clusters that are important to the Hudson Valley for a variety of reasons. Some are very strong in specific counties and have the opportunity to expand. Biotech is a great example of it. Or there could be, like food and beverage, for instance, a cluster that we think it can be developed right away from across all 7 counties. So again, the top clusters: biotech, food and beverage, semiconductor, solar and renewable energies, financial services, distribution, data centers, film production, and obviously tourism. But the key thing that John wanted me to talk about again was BioHud Valley. And what I want to do is kind of backtrack and talk about why we selected the life sciences or biotech as a key sector. Right now, there's about 250 or so biotech companies located in the state of New York, and over 40% of them are already located within the lower Hudson Valley. We really are at the epicenter of the biotech industry in the state of New York. But what's been happening, and a lot of that is obviously concentrated in Westchester, Rockland counties, where the overwhelming bulk of those companies are located. In the past, when those companies were looking to expand, looking for either light manufacturing or back office or data centers or anything along those lines, they tended to not look in New York State. They tended to not look in Dutchess County or Orange County or Sullivan County, Ulster County. They tended to go to New Jersey. They went to North Carolina, or they went somewhere else. So what we thought was critical as an organization is that we needed to help build up this cluster so that we can support the companies that are already here, so that when they are talking about expansion, they start to look into our other counties. When certainly with the emerging companies, startup companies, the cost of doing business is critical, and it's obviously a very expensive industry. Capital investment is very high. If we can start to show that there's an opportunity for properties, that this is a region that has the workforce that can support them already, and that they have a very active branding campaign for the region, we can start to have them understand that there's reasons to continue to do business in New York, and then look for that expansions up here. The other reason we picked biotech, we had a willing partner. As I said, there were already these companies here. It's not like we had to go out and say, similar to Albany, for instance, with Global Foundries, and turn around and say to the state, we need billions of dollars of incentives to plop down and create an industry, which has been fantastic for the capital region and ultimately would be great for the state. But we knew we weren't going to get those resources and be able to pick an industry and have that financial support. So we wanted to go after partners that were already here saying, we're growing, we're fast growing, and Regeneron is a great example of that, which I'll get into in a little bit. Here's a company that is fast growing in the Hudson Valley and has become one of the leading employers, not only in the region but in the state, and the #1 biotech company in the state in terms of employees. They have close to 1,700 employees now in their operation. Before we started, no one in the state knew that. There were some dealings with them, but there wasn't a lot of support for the company. And in this environment, in the past year, they've hired roughly 500 employees in the past year, and they have plans to hire another 200 to 300 for the rest of this year. So 800 jobs created, high-paying jobs, high-quality jobs in this environment it's a no-brainer to get us out there and to support. So what did we do? We created a launch of this campaign in the spring of 2010. What we did is we brought together a number of those biotech companies, and we put them in a room. We talked about cluster development, that the state basically in the past would say, well, we have a cluster here, we have a cluster there. And that was basically the extent of it. There wasn't really an interacting with the companies and finding out their needs and wants. What we did is we put them in a room. We brought in the surrounding partners as well. We brought in bankers. We brought in brokers. We brought in real estate developers. We brought in planning board members, a whole variety of support people that might be impacted by this growing industry. Got them in a room. We said, we're not the experts. You're the experts. It's your cluster. It's your business. You just tell us what you need, and we'll start to develop the plan based on what your specific needs are. So as opposed to going in and telling them what we're going to do for their business, we wanted to really get their feedback. One of the first things they said is that we need to be branded. This region has all of these companies, we have all these workers, but for us to, we need help attracting and retaining that workforce in the region. And one of the things those workers need to know is that there's other companies out here in the region. It makes it easier for them to recruit. So they wanted to make sure that the region was known for something. Very similar to Silicon Valley, research triangle in North Carolina and that kind of thing. They wanted to be able to go on college campuses and talk with recruiters and potential employees and say, come here, something's growing. And so what we did is we created this campaign, which is called New York BioHud Valley. And the idea was that we now have this entity. So that was stage one of the program. We launched that in October of last year at Regeneron with Senator Gillibrand. So we wanted to bring in political support, political leadership, so that they got behind this and understood the value of supporting this growing cluster, both on legislation and basically an understanding of how important these jobs and companies are. So since our launch in October, we also tackled a number of other issues that the companies talked about and said were critically important. Workforce training was critical. Access to capital. They wanted to have a better networking between the existing companies that were in the region. So talking about some of those, to start with, they also wanted us to have a stronger presence, with the state of New York, to have a presence at trade shows throughout their industry, so that again, it helped to promote the companies that are here, but it also helped them on workforce recruitment and retention. So one of the things that we put together was a very aggressive trade show program. We worked with the New York Biotech Association and participated in their annual trade show and convention in New York City. It was the first time this region came together under this umbrella, and we brought those biotech companies that were members, and we helped promote them within that space. From there, we also we worked with NIBA, the Biotech Association. We worked with SUNY, and we worked with Empire State Development on having a floor presence at the Bio International Convention that just took place in June in Washington, D.C. That convention is the biggest biotech convention in the world. It's thousands and thousands of people attend. We attended ourselves last year, HVDC, to kind of get a sense of the scope and try to figure out what we should be doing as a state. And basically, Ron Hicks from Rockland County accompanied me. We were the state of New York at the convention. There was no presence. There was no floor presence at all. So we spent the last number of months from that convention to start to convince the state that when you're looking at a sector that produces such great jobs and great investment, you got to spend some money. You have to be at these. You have to show to the world that we mean business. The governor talks about open for business. Well, we needed to show that to that industry. So we're happy to say that this year we teamed up and we actually had a floor presence. And when you go to this convention, you have virtually every country in the world has a gigantic pavilion. companies have giant pavilions, but states have enormous pavilions. And we had a sizable presence now for the first time in quite a number of years. And that's going to build. We were talking with our partners about having them, companies like Pfizer, who participated with us but also had their own pavilion, to start to bring it within the New York State umbrella, so that we're all within one set area, and we can start selling that value of the companies that are here. Other events that we did in terms of trade shows, we work with the Upstate Venture Capital Association, Uvania, which is an organization that puts on opportunities for startup and emerging companies to meet with angel network, angel investors, venture capitalists, and financial institutions to talk about basically opportunities to invest in a variety of companies. While that's open to virtually any type of industry, we asked one of our founding members of BioHud Valley and one of our board members, Dr. Charles DeCuomo from Orion Biosciences, which is one of the fastest growing biotech companies here in the state, to come and give his story to other companies and talk about how Orion went through the investment process and how they secured the capital that they needed to get to where they are today. And it was important for other industries to hear how successful these types of companies could be. So we have more of those types of programs scheduled as well. Again, an enormous thing that the sector talked about was workforce training. They said that they needed help having better relationships with the community colleges and the academic institutions within New York State. Some of the bigger companies said, no, we have great relationships. Some of the smaller companies said, we don't know anybody to talk to. So we wanted to kind of bridge that gap and try to smooth out the edges and start to have more relationships with the community colleges and offer the services that they already provide and have them be available for the companies that could take advantage of them. So one of the things that we created was what we call the Knowledge Series, and we worked with Regeneron on this, where Regeneron hired a scientific expert to come in and teach a course to a number of their scientists, about 150 of their key employees. And we sponsored the event and helped coordinate the activities. So that was part of an educational series that we worked on, with a specific company. Another great innovative program that we created was what we call a mini MBA program. We worked with Westchester Community College and the Putnam Westchester WIP, which was basically taking some money, grant money that came in from the WIP, and tying it into a partnership with 3 of the biotech companies in Westchester, who took some of their money, combined it with the money that the WIP put up, and we were able to hire a third-party expert to come in from Columbia to provide a mini MBA program for each of these companies over about a 3-day period of time. This was run through Westchester Community College. So it's a unique program, and we think it's a model that can be utilized in virtually any sector, but it became very specific. So the need was from the company saying, we want to do mini MBA programs, but we have to spend an enormous amount of money when we fly people out of the state. We go to Boston, or we go to Harvard, or we go out to Chicago, and things like this. The idea was to save the cost, keep them local, and bring those experts in and tie in with the community colleges to provide those programs. So that was a very successful program, and one that we're looking to to continue to expand. Advocacy became a major role of what we're doing, and we partnered with NIBA, the New York Biotech Association, and we've done fly-ins up to Albany, and we've gone down to DC to help support our companies that are looking for specific legislative issues and their concerns. And part of it is that coordination, is making sure that all the companies know that these types of events are going on and bringing a bigger group. And And I'll give you an example. We did a flyby, and where we are at right now and where we're going to be. We did a fly-in, Bio International, which is the trade organization for the country, for the industry, did a fly-in program down in D.C. a few months back. New York, we sent 3 people, myself being one of them. California sent about 90 people. Massachusetts had 100 people that came in. And we identified that as an issue within the New York Biotech Association as a weakness and something that they needed to help expand their services. As part of that, I've now become a board member of NIBA, representing BioHud Valley, so that we can make sure that we can increase that advocacy. It's very critical. You can't talk to key elected officials and tell them this industry is so important, and they see 100 people from California and 100 people from Massachusetts going, and it's 3 of us. So next year, as those fly-ins come, we expect to have much more than those other states, and we're going to work very actively to kind of make that happen. Property marketing is obviously a key element of what we needed to do to help let brokers and developers understand what this industry's needs are. What are they looking for? So we hosted a bagels, brokers, and biotech meeting where we brought in a couple of the biotech companies, and they met with brokers, and they were able to tell them, this is what we're looking for. This is our specific needs as an industry. So when you're starting to plan and market out your properties, if you're interested in this fast-growing sector, these are the types of things that you're going to need to kind of pull together. Incubator space is also critical for this industry in this region. We work very closely with New York Medical College on a targeted incubator program, which I'll get into a little bit more in detail in a minute. Another part of what and how it links to specifically to Dutchess County, we're working on a program with IBM and Morgan Stanley where we're going to be putting on a high-level C-suite conference, which is going to take the life science division of IBM and the life science division of Morgan Stanley, and bring in about 100 of the top biotech company senior executives to talk about the innovative products and programs that IBM has, that Morgan Stanley also has to offer, and then also have a networking opportunity within those companies. So we've taken companies that are outside the realm of the biotech industry, companies like Morgan Stanley and IBM, and have sold them on the concept, this is a sector that you guys should be getting more involved in. This is where you guys should be bringing your skill sets and your products into this industry as well to help nurture it and grow it across sectors. When we talk about marketing properties, we had an enormous success that we recently announced in Westchester. The Ardsley campus, which is a 45-acre property in Westchester County that was on the market. We were able to close that property with Biomed Realty, which is one of our founding members of BioHud Valley and one of our partners. It's a group that bought the campus, and it's now also announced that Accorda Therapeutics, which is also one of our founding members, is now going to be a major tenant within that property. So we were able to take a vacant property that that we were very concerned about being off the market for a long time, and was able to get additional investment from Biomed Realty in the BioHud Valley, and also get one of our major players to take an increased space. All right, one of the more exciting programs that we're working on is with New York Medical College. We're in the process of applying for a federal contract under a Health and Human Services program called BARDA for the development of an innovative and advanced development and manufacturing incubator space. The college has, which is located in Valhalla, has about 125,000 square foot facility that we're looking to make it into a biopharma research facility. I'm going to read this specifically because I want to make sure I get all of these parts. Basically, the incubator will be for biotech startups working on medical countermeasures against pandemic, flu, chemical, biological, radioactive, and nuclear threat agents. So what's fascinating about this opportunity is that we've just submitted the application into Health and Human Services for a $100 million grant or contract. It's actually a contract with the federal government that would allow New York Medical College to build out this world-class incubator space to work on those types of terrorism, counterterrorism, and vaccines. What's so important for this, for Dutchess County and the rest of the Hudson Valley, is we do not currently have that type of space available for companies, for those emerging companies that want to come in and start doing that small research. The opportunity to develop a facility of that size with that type of federal support really gives us the ability that as they grow out, as they start to develop their processes, they're going to need places to land. They're going to need space. So the opportunity to have those companies that develop within this incubator move throughout the rest of the Hudson Valley is just tremendous. Because as you obviously all know, those startup companies are very expensive to do business in Westchester and the lower Hudson Valley. So the opportunity to have these biotech companies move up north is tremendous. And again, this is what's exciting about this is a $100 million program, and it's a 3-to-1 federal match. So the support that's coming in, for every dollar that we get towards the program, the federal government is matching 3-to-1. We'll help with strategic partnerships with the companies that are developing there. We're talking about IBM, we're talking about expansion, and obviously the supply chain. That's how the biotech cluster is basically operating. But one of the more exciting things that we're starting to work on now as well is a food and beverage cluster. We're looking at, and we're partnering with Pepsi down in Somers and Purchase, who's interested in hosting a new roundtable. They've seen what's happened with BioHud Valley, and they approached us and said, we want the same thing for the food and beverage cluster that's throughout the Hudson Valley. The interesting part about that is that that's really something, biotech is something that we hope that expands north up to the Ulster and Sullivan counties and throughout the region. The food and beverage cluster is already there. We already have it, we just have to bring those pieces together. So I did have some video, but we're not able to show that. So I'll send that to John, and he can get that over to you guys in a clip. We'll show you some of the videos that we produced. We did one with Jason as well. That we're featuring on his property here in Poughkeepsie a few months back, and that's currently on YouTube as well. So it can kind of give you a sense of some of the property marketing that we're doing. But BioHud Valley and the cluster development is really going to be the focus of what the governor is looking for on these out of these regional councils. We're happy to see that Regeneron, the CEO and founder of Regeneron, is going to be serving as the co-chair of the Hudson Valley Mid-Hudson Regional Council. So that kind of gives you an overview of what we're looking at. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have. Sure, Mike. And you are again?
I'm Keely Sullivan. I'm the Commissioner of Planning.
Right.
Just hired. I'm not quite so sure if you want to put this on the agenda, but you mentioned the issue of workforce training,
right.
Workforce development. Maybe for discussion at some point with the group. The federal legislation for that is long expired. Mm-hmm. And it's been on a lot of people's agenda to try to move Congress to get that refocused, mm-hmm. retooled, and updated. And it's just stuck in the mud, has been, I think, maybe Mike McCormick knows, 5 or 6, 7 years. It just can't get out of Congress. Right. And it's basically an old model, right. that needs to be updated and upgraded. So at some point in your work teams, you might want to talk about how that model needs to be recrafted and restructured and adapted so that these kinds of initiatives can actually have some productivity. But no one seems to want to really, kick hard enough to get that legislation updated.
Well, I think that's part of what we're trying to do with our federal team is to include them in as much of these activities that we're doing. Tomorrow, we're breaking ground on a training facility for BioHub Valley that we have in a location called iPark, which is located in downtown Yonkers. Senator Jo Grant's coming. She's cutting the ribbon for us, and we're going to do a tour on some of the biotech companies that are expanding and growing within this campus called iPark. So one of the things we want to do is keep them as engaged as possible so that we can start that dialogue and they can understand and taste this is the high quality jobs, this is the great investment. So the question comes to them, what can we do to support it? So that's when we can start to say we need help on workforce training. These are the issues that they're starting to hear from the companies and as well as the economic development professionals to work to push for that. But I think that completely makes sense.
Well, people are startled to find out when you look at the data how many jobs are wanting because there aren't the skill sets of the people in the work pool to fill them.
Right.
And that's stagnating a lot of the economic growth. And
Right.
it's just not something that's talked about. It's almost like a wart that people don't want to admit.
Right.
But when people say, well, unemployment and jobs, well, a lot of the vacancies go on and on and on because the skill sets haven't been produced.
Right. No, that's absolutely true. Anybody else have it?
Mike, quick question for you.
Sure.
How do you see the coordination working between local EDCs, your organization, and regional councils?
Well, I think it's going to be, we're here as a research. I mean, one of the biggest parts of when you look at the regional council, first of all, on our board specifically, Maureen Halloran from the Orange County Partnership is a board member of ours and one of our partners. She's on the council. Jim Taylor was one of our board members. He's also on the council. Rob Dyson, as you know, is on the board of the ESD, board member of ours as well. So there's we're going to have that partnership with the council, and I think our role specifically is to provide them with whatever data, whatever information that they need as to the importance of the various clusters that are out there where we're seeing the growth, where we're seeing it from and hearing it from the companies that are coming in, to the region. John, obviously, we've had a number of conversations about, our role is we have to do our job and we have to support what the regional councils are doing at the same time. They have a lot of work ahead of them, but I think a lot of the work has been done. I think the Hudson Valley has a strong understanding of our strengths and our weaknesses, the type of industries that we should be going after and promoting. So I think it's more bringing that together in a consensus form and then making sure that we're one of the regions that gets the lion's share of the money that's available. Again, I think we're here to provide them with whatever they need, in terms of, and advocate for the businesses to say, if they're going down one direction, that it's not what our companies are telling us. It's our role, John's role, to really promote on behalf of those companies to the council. We have to be the voice of. The reality is, the vast majority of the companies in the region, in the state, they have no idea these regional councils are, in place to. They're doing their business, and they need to have somebody that can, advocate generally on those topics. But I think, with certainly with Carol, with Regeneron, I think the understanding in the Hudson Valley from the governor is that the BioHub Valley, the life sciences, the biotech industry is the sector that is the future for the region, or a growing component of that, and then we have to nurture it as much as we can because that expansion is really going to be there, for everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, Michael, I'm going to just piggyback on what the county executive was saying about the WIB and the WIA funds, and with regard, we all know that they come from the federal government, they pass
Right.
through the state, come down to the different boards. But what Bill was saying, I think, is very proper. I mean, the WIA funds that come to the county, you know, there are guidelines and things of that nature that are sort of like put together by DOL, but there should be a dovetailing between DOL and what's going on in the different economic regions, so that the funds are really allocated properly to what should be occurring, like in, you know, and that seems not to happen. Now, from your point of view, being with the state, that's something that I would think that the administration could push and have a dovetailing of those funds that could go into the right direction, so that you don't have them just scatter. You know, in terms of the WIA funds and the WIP, you know, we train truck drivers very well, but there's just so many jobs for that. And if you want to heighten it and elevate what we can do in the valley, you know, DOL needs to be dovetailed with what goes on. And I'm just wondering, has that occurred? And
well, just for clarity, I'm not with the state.
okay.
So we're
but
right.
No, but your
I
relationship
escaped
with
that,
the state.
that job.
Okay.
Used to be there.
Right.
No, but understood. And you're 100% right. I think you know, there has to be, and I think we were very successful down in Westchester with the creation of this mini ABA program, where we work with the Workforce Investment Board, but we also work with the I mean, it's a perfect public-private partnership. We went to the companies and we said, you know, what are your needs? They said, well, our needs are that we want these types of programs, but we don't think, you know, we can get it here locally. The type of training that we need at the level we don't think is available at the community college level here in Westchester. So the community college said, well, actually it is, because we can source out and we can work with a third-party provider to provide you the type of high-quality training that you're going to require, that's going to make it cost-effective for you to spend, you know, $30,000 on this program versus $100,000 on sending your employees with travel and the expense of the programs, you know, to another state. So, and I understand there's training that goes on that might not build in on that. I think part of what the regional councils are going to do is once it's laid out what the approved plan is for the region, the idea is that all of those pieces, the Department of Labor will be participating in this process with the state to make sure that whatever programs and how they're going to allocate their resources are in line with what the region is talking about as a regional plan. And it's our responsibility to not just rely on, you know, the regional organization is going to put together the plan. We have to execute it, you know, at the end of the day. So it's really going to be our responsibility to advocate to the regional councils, you know, what the plan should be for the Hudson Valley. But then we also have to be the ones to ensure that it's executed the way that it needs to be.
Right.
So, but certainly something that happened. We're happy to, you know, Westchester is very willing and sees the need for regionalism. And they're happy to come on a roadshow to meet with, you know, like come here and talk about how they actually structured, you know, step by step this program. We can also bring the companies that will come in and say, well, this is why we did it. And we can get that full understanding of how this program is created. And then it's just, you just change the sector based on the, you know, the needs of each county.
Right.
But you're right, too much is, there's been that disconnect.
Yeah, and the disconnect's not good in terms of the whole. I mean,
Right.
if you want to make a regional, something regionally happen, you have to have everyone on the same page.
Right.
And certainly that falls true for the state government.
Right.
They have to understand what the needs are and then generate the help for
Right.
those needs in
Right.
the sector.
Right. You got all that, Carol?
All right.
Any other questions? No? Well, thank you again
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Okay, if there's no further business. Again, I'd like to thank Dr. Conklin and Dutchess for hosting us, and thank you for coming this morning.